So the bottom line is that more and more and more people are using LLMs to search. So therefore, we can't just stay with our tried and true SEO strategy. We have to evolve or we're going to devolve, right? We're going to be left behind is the bottom line. So I'd love to have your just your thoughts on if a lot of us really haven't started an LLM optimization strategy, like how do we even think about that, right? What do we need to do as marketers to start to shift and do it quickly?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. So there are three big changes that we've observed. The first is that, or the first big change I would recommend is number one, you have to think beyond Google. So it's still a really, really important platform, but expand your field of vision beyond that and think about your visibility and sentiment on platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Grok, and social media platforms like TikTok, and then forums like Reddit. Search is no longer a singular destination. And I think we might be the last generation that uses Google as a verb. The second shift is that we need to shift from thinking just about SEO to thinking about, which is links and keywords, to influencing answers. So there are a lot of different terms, GEO, AEO. I like AEO. I like answer engine optimization, but who knows what a little like. But here the goal isn't to rank for a keyword. It's to be cited and trusted by the model so that you show up in the answer and you help form that buyer's first impression. And so happy to share some tips for how to do that. But the idea is you want to be visible in the answer. And then the third shift is that the funnel as we know it is changing dramatically. I think we think get the click, come to the website, capture the lead, nurture them through email marketing, nurture them through, other tactics, convert the lead. Increasingly, that entire education journey can happen in an LLM conversation. And AI could be having that entire conversation on your behalf. It's still sorted or cited by information that you provide, but that entire funnel could be entirely compressed. And so if you're not visible in that first moment, you can miss out on the opportunity, that entire opportunity.
So I'd love to ask if I'm taking away the right takeaway from this. For one is we have to start creating content that will be cited inside of these LLMs. Yet again, an entirely new reason we need to be creating good content, right? Already on top of the fact that like Forrester said, hey, ABM marketing is all foundational on content. Right? It all starts with content. So we've known that, right? But sometimes talking to the rest of the C-suite and talking about content when over 60% of content that marketing creates, sales never uses. So, like this content conversation needs to be reframed inside of our own companies, right? And so you're helping what foundational, now LLMs, but here's an impact I think from this LLM as well, but it's also because we're losing trust with our buyers at the same time. And you and I talked about this before, like go to the most recent LinkedIn Edelman study, and it talks about how the 32,000, the trust barometer study, 32,000 respondents, 61% think that we're being intentionally misleading, right? And so that's fueling this self-service B2B buyer journey where they don't want to talk to us until the very end. And then they already have their top 2 or 3 selections in mind. So content is becoming a much more important part of the sales process because people are looking outside of us in the direct conversation to make their decisions, right? And so all the whole paths are pointing back to we got to be a lot better at creating content than we ever have been, even though we've always known it's been ultimately important.
Yes.
That's my
Yeah.
takeaway from what you're saying. Is that a
Yeah.
good one or?
It is. Your point about trust is a really, really important one. So if you want to show up and answer to a question on an LLM, the LLM has to trust that it has accurate, recent, consistent information about your brand. It does not want to hallucinate. It does not want to give the wrong answer, right? Because The switching costs, let's say you get a wrong answer on ChatGPT, you could jump to Claude or Perplexity or any competing platform in a second, right? So they want to give you an accurate answer. So it's all founded on trust. And so the question is, how do you deliver content to an LLM that it trusts? And it comes down to a couple of things. The number one most important thing is that your brand information is consistent. So let's talk about something really straightforward, like business hours. Let's say you're a coffee shop, right? And your business hours are likely listed on your Google business profile, Apple Maps, Yelp, Yellow Pages. There are hundreds of long tail sites that also have hours listed. There's probably a coffee shop specific one. So when somebody says, what's the best coffee shop near me that's open right now? And ChatGPT goes out to answer that question. It's going to search across all of these sites. If it sees the same answer everywhere, it's going to trust that that's the right answer. And then it's going to say, great, you open at 6 a.m. If it sees different information across 3 different sites, it's not going to trust you. It's not going to cite you in that answer because it's not confident, right? So when we talk about content, I think it's also shifting away from how we think about content in terms of long form blog posts or white papers and things like that, but down to like the atomic unit of brand facts about your organization and ensuring that information is consistent and accurate and visible in all of the places that an LLM is searching.